Okay, everybody, welcome to SAAG. If you didn't plan to go to the security area meeting, you're welcome to stay. Yeah, I forgot to add a slide for it, so I'll do it there. Yeah. Okay, let's start our meeting. Welcome, everyone. This is the note well. Hopefully, you've all seen it by now. Our process is defined in many RFCs, and the BSPs there list the important points. If you have any questions related to harassment policies or code of conduct or copyrights or IPR, please read those links before you participate. Yes, it is cold in here, I agree. The note really well, so we try to all exist in harmony and have very good conversations about technical topics that are not personal. So if you believe that there's any kind of harassment happening, then there's various ways where you can report this and fix this. You can either come to us as area directors, you can go to the ombuds team. There's various ways possible. So please note as well. One note for the working group chairs. A lot of the working group chairs accidentally, when this slide is being displayed, say something like, luckily this working group doesn't have any harassment or problems, but in case there is, do this. Please do not do this. I again heard this at least one time during this week. If you do so and you're not aware of any problems in your working group, then you run the risk of really disenfranchising someone who feels that they are actually being harassed, because obviously nobody's seeking harassment. So please try to refrain from mentioning that it's not a problem in your working group. Meeting tips. It's Friday. I guess we can skip them. There's one thing that they actually asked us to mention. Apparently, there are some people that bring local Wi-Fi access points with them, the MiFi kind of devices. And when they have bad reception, then they turn these on. Apparently, that then destroys the Wi-Fi bubble around you completely for other people. So please refrain from using these devices. Agenda and links. I've been using the new template. So these are sort of the more standardized links, so we don't have to change them every meeting to the specific links we had there before. So agenda bashing. So we'll have the working group reports. We have one presentation about the pull and push based security event token delivery. We'll have a short discussion about RFC 4086, and then we'll have open mic. Anybody for agenda bashing? We'll continue. Working group chair changes since IETF 122. We've had two BOFs. We had the expat BOF, which is about attested TLS. I think it went fairly well. There were some good conversations happening, and it's up to me now to look at the next steps. But I'm kind of hopeful we can maybe get to a charter. We'll send it out on both the attested at IETF.org list and the TLS and the RATS lists. See if there's enough broad consensus for maybe forming a working group. If we find that there's still much disagreement, then we might have to do another BOF. But I'm kind of hopeful that we can maybe start that working group and get that work there started. There was another security-related BOF, the WebBot auth, which hopefully Deb will know about.
Right. So WebBot auth was I did because the WIT area already had a couple of BOFs, and it's hard for ADs to do more than one at a meeting, so I took the WebBot auth. I also thought it was sort of security adjacent. It also went fairly well. There's work to do, charter work to do that might have happened a little bit yesterday. So, but we will shuffle that off to WIT, and everybody will be happy.
So then we had one new working group, HPKE, and of course everybody's wondering where is the ham? Does anyone have an update on what the situation is with the promised ham? There was a ham promised if they were going to get to publication requested. Oh, Rich isn't here. Where's Rich or Richard? Nobody here. Oh, there he is. Oh no, Martin.
Hey, so sorry, I had to leave a little early. I'm actually dialing in from the airport in Lisbon. Rich kindly provided me not a full ham, but an agreed upon amount of ham on my way out, and a beautiful bottle of sherry. I, I think we can consider the bet settled and the documents on their way.
Excellent. So HPK did actually a really nice job. They moved forward. This was about moving some of the documents from CFRG related to HPKE to a standards track so that they're updated and more usable for other working groups to refer to. So yeah, they've done a nice job. We did not close any working groups. We rechartered two working groups, Kose and LAMS. Kose, we found out it actually made a slight error. We accidentally removed the C509 certificate part out of the charter. This was not on purpose, do not fear. It was a bug. We will put it back in through a quick recharter. Yes, we're recharting Lake 2, yes. And LAMPS. I'm not sure if you want to say anything about that. But...
LAMPS is done. We're good.
Oh, okay. LAMPS is done. Good. Some personnel changes. We have a new chair for Acne. Thank you, Tomofuno, for your work before, and thanks, Mike, for taking over. And we've got the HPKE chairs that are obviously new, Martin and Jaroslav, and we hope to fire them soon because this group is hopefully shutting down very quickly. How you can help out? We're always looking for people interested to do working group chairing. So please let us know if you're interested in becoming a working group chair. Becoming a document shepherd is also really good. You sort of like make a wrap up of the process of life cycle of the document, of what happened, whether there was controversial things, if all the little procedural things have been followed properly, if all the documents has no more nits and other things. It's a really good way of becoming more acquainted to the process. And yeah, you don't have to be a genius to do this. This is a nice stepping stone to become more active in the IETF. The term rocket science is very loaded at this point. I would avoid using it, whether it's easy or hard to blow up rockets. We also always need help with errata processing. The shaming slide will come later. You can also obviously attend all the BOFs related to security, whether they're virtual or in-person BOFs. We always need like people to speak up and get like a wide set of people in BOFs to get like all the viewpoints there. And then I put a line in there to remind myself that if we have anyone who wants to be a minute taker for this meeting, you could volunteer here as well. So if anyone wants to take minutes, I pre-populated the hedgehog. And if, oh, excellent. Thank you for volunteering. And then, of course, the big bullet point that I forgot to add on the slide. If you want to help out, you could also become a security area director. This is an awesome job. Comes with many perks. You get to always meet on Friday. But seriously, it is important that that everybody gets to select from a big pool of security peeps that want to do this job. So if you have any questions about what it entails to be a security area director, come talk to me or Deb. We can help you out and explain you all the good and bad sides of being an area director. And yes, hopefully we'll get some nice, good candidate pool to pick a new area director from. And then we get to the working group summaries part. So these are the working groups we know about. If you feel that something very exciting happened that you want to share here, either good or bad, please go to the mic. If not, please send your highlights and summaries to the SAAG mailing list. There are a number of people that cannot attend all of the security meetings that are in other areas that really do read up on these summaries to see what they've missed or what they need to go look at. So these are really important to sort of share our security events outside of the little security area. Oh, sorry, we got two people in the queue. Richard.
Oh, I need to put myself.
Peter Castleman, chair of the Whimsy working group. I just as a topic that might be of interest for folks in this community, we had a very good discussion around workload identity in the context of agentic AI this week. There will be an interim before the next meeting, and so just for awareness, sharing here in case folks are interested to join that.
Thank you. Yes, actually, on the next slide is the related groups to security, but you're preempting us. It's
I'm
very
sorry.
good. No, we love preemptive security. Always like be one step ahead. Nancy.
So for the SCIM working group, there's a couple things. We're trying to get more feedback on the use cases draft. So those that have implemented SCIM would be great to get more reviews on that draft so that we can move forward on the work. The second one is on the device models draft. Even though it is going through the IESG, there was an update there where there may be, there's a resolution, but what we want to do again is to solicit feedback to make sure that the updates on that draft will not break interoperability. So just want to do a call out to make sure we get more reviews. Thanks.
Please also send out a message to the list on this then. Oh, she did? Oh, you did? Oh, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so then the related non-SEC area activities at IETF. There's a few other groups that closed, but these are like a list of groups that you might be interested in and other organizations.
Just a reminder, the Whimsy working group, great conversations about identity and agentic AI, interim meetings coming up. Welcome to join. Thank you.
Thanks. We have two new non-working group mailing lists that were added. Actually, Plant is in the process of being added, so I'm not sure if it's already added or not. But it's about PKI logs and tree signatures. And then Settle, that's currently happening in the ops area. It's talking about secure access to TILA's local resources. That mailing list has been set up, but it's unclear yet what the status will be of the future work, whether it's be a BOF or working group. ED sponsor draft, this one draft being considered, or sorry, being sponsored by DEP, and we'll actually have a presentation on that, so we'll get back to that shortly. Then we had the outcome from the dispatch from earlier in the week. There was a presentation about Merkle tree certificates, so this is where the plant's mailing list is coming from as well. So it's not entirely sure yet what will happen. Maybe there will be both, but if you are interested in that discussion, join the plant mailing list. There's the PSI-based ECDH, which I think the outcome was a bit unclear. There will be more discussion. I don't know why it's offline discussion. I guess it's like not at the mic, but it's still online on mailing lists.
So the plan is to talk to the proponents and perhaps get them to reach out to CFRG again and maybe do a presentation as opposed to just posting to the mailing list, which they apparently did back in November. And so it is what somebody has dubbed fancy crypto. So it's possible that CFRG may take this on, but the only way to tell is to ask.
Then there was another draft on unobtrusive end-to-end email signatures. This is going to be either done by mailmaid or a side meeting. And then there was the JS Contact URL peer-to-peer security scheme, and it seemed to be mostly going to the respective mailing lists for their components and maybe a BOF on the crypto part in the future.
If any of those proponents are in the room and they want to make a comment at the mic, we're happy to have them do that. Just put yourself in the queue.
Hi there. We discussed the unobtrusive end-to-end email signatures in MailMate this week. People seem pretty positive about it, but there was some discussion about whether or not it would be related to the DKIM2 work. And Bron Gondwana offers to raise it with DKIM and report back. But at the moment, I'm sort of expecting it to run within MailMate. There's been decent feedback from the chairs, and people within the working group there seemed excited about it. So we'll see what happens, but I will report back as it continues.
Thank you. Phil?
So although JS Contact has been dispatched to JS Contact, the point of the bit that we're doing is how do you put SSH keys into a contact? How do you do OpenPGP keys into a contact? How do you do SMIME keys into a contact? So I'm going to be soliciting input from the working groups who do the protocols, asking them, how do you what information do you want to express to allow people to use your cryptographic widget to talk to other people? And if people don't respond to me, well, I'll make a guess, and my guess may not be what they want. So please, I do need help on that. If you've got opinions, please send them to me or to the group or whatever. Thank you.
Thanks. Then I wanted to point out there's a new statistics feature in the data tracker. So if you look at the security area, you'll see this new button there for statistics. When you click on it, you'll see this nice graph. And if you hover your mouse over it, you will see all the document count and page count. So you can see that we currently have 285 documents open with like 9,500 pages, of which LAMS is taking up like what? A lot.
It's all ASN1, so it's fine.
Anyway, yes, these were getting these kind of overviews, and then at some point we were like, we should just like export these to the community. So the data tracker people took that on, and they have now made this on a per area basis. They're pretty cool. Then we get to the errata processing. So we are going up a little bit instead of down. We're now at 218 open errata of the 599 total open errata. These are only technical errata. So we did close some, but we really should do a little bit better, including your area directors. So we'll try to, again, kickstart this a bit, but you know, if you have a few free days at the beach and you're bored, July is a great month to continue with this work. So some generic pointers. We have a wiki. We have a section on common discuss criteria where we call it discuss on a document to get more security content discussed. You can see where your document is based on the area director responsible for it on their respective AD dashboards. And you can look at the next ISG telechat. So telechats happen every other week for document discussions.
So if you think your ADs are slacking, go check out our pages because it'll tell you exactly what we're doing.
Then as part of when a document moves through the chain up to the ISG, it also sends out a call for the directorates to review the document. So we are running the security directorate. Thanks, Tero, for managing all that work. If you're a working group chair, you are automatically added to this group and you'll be volunteered to review some documents once in a while. These are really important for us. It helps your area directors get a better idea of possible issues when they finally come for the ISG to ballot on. We meet every Tuesday of an IETF. Free lunch is provided. this time we decided to update from boring sandwiches to hot food. So we had a better attendance than before. This is great. So during those meetings, we also talk a bit about like hot topics in the area and with each working groups. So this is good. Also, if you're no longer a working group chair, we do not unsubscribe you from this group. So once you're in here, you're here for life. So just to give you an idea, we had 225 something documents done in the last period between last IETF and now. 155 were completed in time, 70 were completed late. Late is still better than not completed, but if for some reason you get assigned a document and you really don't think you will do this for whatever reason, please just send it back to Tiro so that he can assign another person. It's better to get it assigned to another person than to sort of to fall in between the cracks and not getting done. Some statistics about how most documents are in the ready state. There's some that are not ready. There's more that have nits, some that have issues, and a few that have serious issues. I think this is sometimes a little bit lopsided because serious issues happens mostly for when there's an early review requested. Most documents don't have serious issues by the time they get to the IETF last call. I'm not sure if this is going up or down, but there's some more statistics in the SAAG statistics package. You can see the full slide deck with more statistics in the meeting materials. This gives you the number of documents per month and how well we're doing historically. Then we get to we have two topics, one presentation, one small discussion. So if we have our remote speaker available, then we'll go to the presentation.
Hi everyone. Thank you for having me on the agenda. Have a short presentation. I don't know if it'll take 15 minutes, but let's get through it. This is some work that I've done with Aaron and Apurva, and I'll be presenting on our behalf. I don't know if they're attending remotely or not, but I know they're not in Madrid right now.
Do you want to control your old slides? Do you want slide control?
Yes, I can. Okay, great. Thank you.
There you go.
All right. So, yeah, the reason why we're discussing this in SAAG, and I think we've discussed this in the last IETF as well, or maybe two of them, is because there was a SEC events working group in the security area, and that has since been concluded. And it came up with these, drafts, and now we're seeing the need for an additional, what we're calling push and pull, transport for security event tokens. And this need is primarily coming from the shared signals working group in the OpenID Foundation, because we are relying on these transports for exchanging sets for that contain like CAPE events or risk events and SCIM events and things like that. So that is the reason why we have come up with a new draft. Now that the working group has concluded, we went through some discussion about whether to reopen the working group or whether this can be handled in the SAG itself. And since it's just one draft, we thought that this might be the right forum to discuss it, as long as we get sufficient reviews. And let's talk a little bit about that. So currently what is offered is are two types of transports. One is push delivery, where you open an HTTP connection and you send one security event token at a time. And then what you have to do is, in response to that, you have to acknowledge that token right away by sending a status 202. So there's no way to acknowledge a previously received security event token. You have to acknowledge it at the time that you receive it, which was done using HTTP. So there's the other transport, which is a little more flexible, is the poll delivery, where the receiver polls the transmitter for any SETs that the transmitter may have for it. And in that one, you actually can send more than one SETs in one uh, request or in one HTTP post. And you can also acknowledge previously sent SETs. So you can actually, when the receiver polls the transmitter, it can, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but it can acknowledge the previously received SETs. And then, so this is a slightly better, but it can only do polling. And so the idea was that you should be able to do um, multiple SETs in one HTTP post, even in the push model. And because now you are coming up with these situations where both parties are transmitters and receivers in many cases, you want a somewhat symmetric way of doing things where when you're sending something, you can get back anything that the other party has for you. And so that's sort of the primary reason to do this work. So the few things here are you can send multiple SETs, as you can see at the top in the sets claim, that you can send multiple SETs at a time. You can acknowledge previously received SETs, and you can also provide errors for previously received SETs. And this is none of these things are new. It's already in the poll delivery thing. We're just making it possible to do it both in push and poll, and we're making it possible to do it in one go between a transmitter and receiver who are also sort of bidirectional. Um, so that's roughly what we are doing. Now, what we did was uh, we instead of just HTTP, we added a WebSocket binding as well. And so anyone can request a WebSocket um, uh, opening requesting a WebSocket, and then if the handshake succeeds, then they must use the WebSocket. That is sort of how we have done it. Now, what we did since IETF 122 is we combined, there were two drafts, one which only was about multiple set pushes, and the other one was both push and pull. So we just combined the two, and now it's a single draft, which is the push-pull draft. We have received feedback on the mailing list, and so we are uh, we'll discuss the feedback received in the next few slides. All right. Um, all right. So the feedback received, and thanks to Mike Jones for having gone through, reviewed the drafts. The feedback received was before the drafts were merged, but it applies to the combined draft because the criticism or the feedback on the push-pull draft is actually a superset of what was the feedback received for the multi-set push draft. And so fundamentally, I think the three issues are one is that it seems to be creating incremental work without a lot of engineering advantages. The second one is that it creates an interoperability disadvantage because you currently have people using push delivery and poll delivery, and now you're adding a third one. So that means that now people have to worry about one more way of transferring SETs. And one other feedback was that, hey, this is something that Phil Hunt and Anthony Nadalin had actually published a while back, and it's since it kind of overlaps with what this is, so there's nothing new here. Unfortunately, that draft did not sort of go to completion. It expired, and it was not. I don't know what happened there. It did happen when the working group was active, so I'm not sure why it did not get to an RFC state, but that's kind of where we are. Uh, and so I would like to address some of this feedback in this presentation. And so let's, the simple thing we can do for the two drafts, we can just merge the authors if needed, because it seems like the symmetric, and this is something I became aware of after I published my draft. It seems like they are very similar. And so if the authors are okay with it, we can just, have all of us as authors. But let's look at the sort of the other 2 points of feedback. Uh, the first one about incremental work, I think there are 2 or 3 real advantages to doing this. So the first one is that when you're using push delivery, right now there is no way to do async acknowledgement. So let's say I'm a transmitter and I've pushed a SET to a receiver. I cannot know at some later point of time whether that receiver has received that SET. I have to know that in the response to my HTTP post in which I pushed the SET. So that is the one of the big advantages of doing it this way, because now when you post a SET to a receiver, the transmitter doesn't have to wait for an acknowledgement with that HTTP connection open. It can basically get that acknowledgement at a later time. The other problem that we're seeing is that one may open a stream with the transmitter. The transmitter might be posting, HTTP, SETs to you, but the receiver may be just ignoring it, and there's no way to know. It's just giving you an acknowledgement right then, and there's no way to know that the receiver has stopped caring about that stream. And so having that receiver do an acknowledgement offline actually makes it helps the transmitter understand that yes, this receiver is actually working. The third thing is the efficiency improvement, because we can send multiple SCTs in one HTTP post. I think it helps the efficiency. And the issue about interoperability. So we do have some traction right now, like companies like Apple, Okta, on this Cisco have implemented shared signals in their products, but the adoption right now is quite nascent, and so I don't think the interoperability disadvantage is as big as it would be maybe if the specs were more mature. So let's talk a little bit about the efficiency improvement, and this is where I feel like this is a little forward looking, because I want the shared signals framework. uh, I feel like it could become a really good way to transport things asynchronously between parties, and having these kinds of efficiency improvements will enable really high performance applications. Like right now there's a big problem that we cannot do identity threat detection and response in the cloud, because we cannot detect lateral movement across a lot of different cloud services. And if we have to do that using CAPE, which is the continuous access evaluation profile on top of the shared signals framework, we would end up having to do a lot more work if we didn't have this. And so that is why I think this also helps in the efficiency point of view, and that's that's the third reason why we think this is important. I think that's my last slide, so let me go back here and wait here. So are there any questions?
Yaron Chef, it's a little bit late for that, but if you could motivate the well, not the particular work, but motivate shared signals for the audience here. I think that would be useful. What they are, what they're useful for.
So yeah, shared signals framework is a sort of a very comprehensive framework for asynchronous delivery of security event tokens. And it is used in protocols in applications like CAPE, a continuous access evaluation profile, which is used to control sort of session properties. So, a transmitter can say things like, this session is revoked from my side, and that event can be responded to by a receiver by saying, oh, if the transmitter has revoked their session, I'm going to revoke it. To various things like that. There are, about 7 or 8 event types in CAPE, and RISC also is in an application of shared signals, which is used for account compromise or account threats related events. So the risk events include things like credential compromised or account purged or account disabled and things like that. So all of those things are being used today. I think Google runs a very large risk service. Apple uses CAPE events in their Apple Business Manager. So a number of these things are in production right now using shared signals framework, and that is one of the primary users of this work.
Mike Jones. Hi, Atul.
Hi.
So I looked for Tony Nadalin in the room. I don't see him. My memory from 7-8 years ago was that the working group didn't progress Tony's draft, which was a push-pull draft, because we felt like having push and pull, you could set up bidirectional connections using those, and that was the right way to do push-pull. So we dropped that work. I was the one who probably said that this is incremental work and would create interoperability problems. It would still create interoperability problems in the sense that deployers wouldn't know whether to use the push and the pull drafts or to implement this, or whether they have to do both. So I think that the reasons that the working group dropped Tony's draft still apply to this one, unfortunately. That's my viewpoint. Thank you.
Right. So I've tried to address these comments in my slides here and on email. The links to those emails are in these slides. So yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the presentation, and I guess Deb, as sponsoring AD, will talk to everybody involved and work on this.
Okay. Thank you.
So the next topic is RFC 4086. So when Deb and I are reviewing various documents, especially outside of the security area, there's often places where people who want to use random, and sometimes it needs to be cryptographically secure, sometimes not. And we always try to make sure that there's enough guidance and security considerations for those documents. Unfortunately, there is not any good reference anymore that we can use, because RFC 4086 is extremely dated. It sort of predates when operating systems and various package languages like Python and Rust had like good cryptographically secure random number implementations. So the question is what to do. we'd like something else that they can reference. This could either be an outside IETF normative reference, or it could be like an inside reference, like an RFC. But the question then quickly becomes like, do we want an RFC with mostly directions to other sources, or do we want to write a whole new document for this? So this was mostly just to start that discussion and see what people feel. We're not yet looking for volunteers to write drafts. We're looking at starting this discussion. So we'll bring this to the list too. But if anyone has any opinions on how they think we should create a reference in the future for this, whether it should be an RFC or some other document, please join the queue.
Paul Hoffman. Am I on? Yep.
Yeah.
Paul Hoffman. Paul, what you just said is a little bit interesting, because what we want to tell people how to do is to use randomness, not to create their own random number generator, which is what 4086 really is.
Right.
So I believe that one simple thing to do is simply to mark 4086 as historic, because it is not a complete and good way to make a random number generator, and just let it alone, because everyone sort of understands how to get randomness. If we have an RFC that tells them go use dev random or dev urandom, there's no target audience for it.
But people can still pick, like, they'll import a Python module that has random, that is not like the proper modern secrets module that has like the secure random implementation. And so there's still advice we sometimes want to give into the security consideration section. And so instead of writing custom text all the time, we would like to be able to point to a reference for that.
So my second suggestion is to do a 4086 BIS, which is actually not at all a BIS on 4086, but says exactly what you said, which is how to find an already good source of random numbers and to use in your application or in your protocol. 2 pages, right. something super short. It should not point out to like NIST or things like that, because then in 20 years, those references are wrong and such like that. Just something that says, if you're here reading this, you might be wondering this, this, and this. Here it is. And seriously, 2 pages long.
Okay, yeah, so that's definitely one path forward. Although I'm like, if we've referenced something that's good for 20 years, I would be happy to.
Is it me? Yeah, it's me. Leif Johansson. So maybe the one way of doing this is to take update 4086, add some information to it that is more recent. There is more recent knowledge, and it actually helps to inform not just the people using OS libraries, but the people who are tasked to write them. And I'm sure at some point in the future somebody's going to be given the job of writing another random number generator and packaged in a library for somebody else to use. So just telling everybody to use an existing RNG, I mean, an informational document that contains information about what not to do is never going to be a bad idea. Maybe not make it BCP, right? But have the information out there, I think is a good idea. And there is a lot of stuff you could add to 4086 as an informational document to make it more relevant.
So, sorry, just to clarify, are you suggesting doing things like, if you use Python, use this? If you use
No, I'm that I agree with Paul, right? If you're doing a BCP, right, do that, right? But preserve the information that is the knowledge that is in 4086, right? There is stuff that produces bad random random numbers. It's not bad information to have around. It doesn't need to be a BCP, but it could be an informational document. And there are other things you could add to that. For instance, we ran this Cryptech project where we did electronics design, and we learned quite a lot of non-trivial things about how to build an hardware RNG that's in the public domain. It couldn't hurt to put it in an informational draft.
Thanks.
Hi, Stephen Farrell. Yeah, so I think we should revise it. I think the text will be quite different, and more modern and useful, and that's okay. And in particular, I put this in the chat, but since then we've kind of learned that if you're generating random numbers for public use or for secret use, you might want to use a different stream. And I really hope we actually add a reference to Dual EC in there, because that is a notable random number generator.
Sorry, I thought Steve was going to be longer. Yeah, I'll echo Stephen's point about dual EC, dual RN, the jiggered random number generator. And that one of the things that would have prevented that being poisoning other things is whatever source of randomness you take, you have to ask, can I trust the randomness on the other side not to be a side channel? And the second question is, do I? And the answer to that is always no. You can always put the output of whatever purportedly random stream you have through a one-way function. And that can severely, that usually is going to curtail the opportunities for jiggering. So just that's a point that I think should survive whatever.
John Gita, hi. So I think in terms of updating the documents and the position these things should have in IETF, I would be much more in favor of a very simple document and something maybe that goes into security considerations review notes, which just simply says, what are you looking for when people say random, right? Because this implementation guidance is pointless. It goes out of date very quickly. Pointing at external sources is a problem, because if you are going through something like the CMVP or the CAVP at NIST, that has one set of random number requirements and entropy requirements. If you're going to other countries, they have different requirements and different tests you have to pass. So that's also not going to scale very well. But I think having some general guidance to people saying, why do you think you need a random number? Is this just for difference? Is it for uniqueness? If it's for uniqueness, over what domain? And if it's cryptographic, actually what you need to have is some idea of the entropy that random stream should have. And again, there's no right answer. You're not going to get infinite entropy, but you need to have enough that it's consistent with the rest of the security properties of the algorithms and the system you're building. So I think it would be much easier and more long-lived for us to say, make sure you know why this thing is random, and here are the 3 or 4 reasons and the 3 or 4 categories that you need to take on, rather than talking about implementations or mouse wiggling or anything like that. And I'd be happy to start that. If people want just 3 or 4 lines in security considerations guidance, I'd be happy to do that.
Thanks. I'm Tom Wiggers. I think that we are sort of seeing this separated into 2 questions. One is where to find randomness, and maybe also in what kind of cases do you need secure randomness. I could think of hash tables that could be adversarially influenced in some ways, where you might also need secure randomness. But the other question is how to build a random number generator, which seems to be much more of the current content in that draft. I would argue that that is more of a CFRG question. It's certainly scary cryptography. As a cryptographer, I find random number generators quite scary. How to evaluate all of that? I mean, yeah. I don't think that for the first point, so where to find randomness, SP 890A revision 1, I think is the current version, is a good source, because that seems to mainly describe the second category, how to construct one. Thanks.
Yeah, Rich. Yeah, I do think we need a new document. 2 things I'd like to see added into it that don't extend the length much is, one, a couple paragraph section on why randomness is important. Just have pointers to notable failures. And then the other is not security considerations text, but things to point out, like where, other documents should say, these are the places in our security considerations where we think randomness is important, because we're generating a key or because we're doing something else. Key generation is the only one that comes to mind. But yeah, we need a new document, and it should have a lot of external pointers and very little specific advice. Just say, modern operating systems, at the time of this writing, modern operating systems provide the necessary facilities. But you need to motivate why it's important, and I think that should be in the doc.
Thanks. Just came to me that the whole nomenclature that we use is wrong. You do not want randomness. The output of the lotto is random. What you want is unguessability. You want a number nobody else is likely to guess. And if you come at the problem from that point of view, it's much easier to see the dependencies and the side channel attacks. And also the fact that, yes, taking the time and the MAC address and putting them through a one-way function isn't going to give you a very random number, even if you expand it to 128 bits, as I explained to a certain individual at Netscape. And somebody then had, I produced a document like this one, telling him how to do it. And they then took the document, put it in their archive, and then when he was replaced, that's the reason that they didn't update the random number generator. They had the architecture.
Thanks. Okay, so yeah, Deb and I will take this into consideration, and we'll reach out to the community, either start some more discussion on the list or see how we can move this on. And I'm kind of hopeful that maybe around next IETF we can have some updated reference, because we really do want something new for when, especially out of security area documents, like referencing random in scary ways. Okay, so that brings us to any other business open mic. So, Rüdiger.
Rüdiger Volk. I would like to kind of skip back to very early in the session when you were looking at the various activities. I think there are at least two quite distinct things that have been happening during this week that are related to security, and that should better show up kind of in the map of external activities. One thing is, and I have to say, I regret not doing very serious homework to prepare for this week. If I had done, I might have actually pushed the delegation of the European Commission, who was here from Sunday to Wednesday, to ask for a slot in this session. The thing is, within the EU, legislation has happened, which is called NIS2, which sets up kind of legal requirements for doing security for at least critical infrastructure of some kind. And kind of the Commission is setting up a process of about 2 years planned to kind of identify technical documents that can be kind of be considered as the technical requirements to fulfill the NIS2 stuff. And kind of, I haven't seen the EU going out and asking
or setting up something that they understand as approaching the multi-stakeholder community, and kind of there are to be 4 working groups, and kind of I cannot predict how open the process there will be, but kind of that activity I think.
Yes, so I understand what you're saying. So there was actually a discussion early in the week. The IETF leadership met with some of the policy people from the EU, and so we had a conversation specifically about the multi-stakeholder model, and sort of to educate each other how we work and how we can help each other. So we actually did some networking earlier in the week.
Yeah, well, okay, those guys have been in the hallways talking to lots of people, and kind of for anybody who wants to have at least a rough idea, there is the slide set from the IAPG where they did a presentation, and there was a site meeting Wednesday evening, or well, okay, before the plenary, for which we do not have more specific documentation so far. The other thing is I have been active in interdomain routing as an operator, and having the luxury of actually spent some part of my work time on the routing security, which has been moving very slowly in IETF. Interesting stuff there that I have been waiting for a long time seems to start moving now. In routing area, we had presentation about how to use secure transport for routing protocols, in particular for BGP. And as I have been watching that area for decades, it looks to me like that is going to take off. At this moment, this was just presentation in routing area and not yet fully specific proposal or paper, except for academic stuff. Actually kind of related to some of the aspects that come up there.
Okay, so can you maybe send some links of the information that happened this week to either the SAAG list or the chat for this meeting?
I'll try to do, yes.
Awesome. Or you can send it to us and we can relay it later on. Thank you very much.
Bas Westman, Cloudflare. I wanted to give just a short little color to the new plans email list. As you may know, post-quantum will cause an overgrowth of signature bytes in PKIs, especially the web PKI, because of certificate transparency. But we think we can prune them by replanting some Merkle trees. This is a big project, and we'd love some proper cross-pollination to grow some strong roots. So please come and join us on the plans email list once it's created. We'll send some emails to the relevant working group list chairs allowing. Thank you.
Thanks. Going once. Going twice. Okay, safe travels home.